Joining us right now, a guy that left it all out there, blood, sweat, and tears. He gave it all when he represented his country, Canada, and also for the clubs he played with, Dale Mitchell. Dale, welcome, my friend.
Hey, Anthony, how you doing?
I'm very good. First, before we start off, a special hello from my previous guest, Vic Router, wants to say hello to you, Dale.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, good to hear. I hear Vic's voice on the television still, and I know you're going to talk a little bit about the CSL days.
Absolutely. So let's get right to it, Dale. I was part of the North York Rockets back in the 90s for 3 years. The derby against the Blizzard when you were with them was unbelievable. It was fierce, but it had Canadian players, 3/4 on each starting roster. And I think today that's the problem in the 3 MLS squads. There's not enough Canadians on there, hence why we continuously not make it to the World Cup. Let's go back, Dale. What was the success and the demise of the CSL in your mind back then?
Well, I think the league basically was a spin-off of the team qualifying for the '86 World Cup, and we wanted a legacy. I think there's the reason that the '86 team did well was because a lot of the players on that team had about 4 or 5 years of playing on a regular basis in the North American Soccer League. Once that league went down, ironically, just before we qualified for the '86 World Cup, there wasn't really a place for the Canadian players to play, and especially the young players. I think that was the reason that the league was formed. A lot of people put a lot of work into it, and eventually that league started to show the fruits of its labor because the '90 team didn't do particularly well in qualifying, but certainly the '94 team that had a lot of players that got their first opportunity in the CSL did very well, and we had a home game to win against Mexico that would have put us in the World Cup. But unfortunately, we didn't win it, but we did finish second in CONCACAF in '94. And under today's format, that would have qualified that team as well.
And that was the team, Dale. That was the team that went to play Australia to see who would get to play the South American opponent to possibly get a berth into the World Cup. I remember staying up in the wee hours of the morning. Bobby Lenarduzzi coaching that squad. And I would say more than half came from the Canadian Soccer League, his roster players from that national team. Am I right?
Well, if you look at the guys on that team, the two players that everybody talks about that the PSL was a big springboard for, of course, was Pescalito and Rosinski, who went on to play in Europe. But there was more guys than that. Alex Bunbury, Lyndon Hooper, Nick Dazovich, Colin Miller, Jeff Wanger, Mark Watson, all started in the CSL, and we're all part of the '94 team.
Dale, let's go back and think about this league. It was based coast to coast, Victoria Vistas, all the way to the Nova Scotia Clippers, Winnipeg Fury, Toronto, North York, on and on. And it was a league that had its struggles, obviously, with the travel and the cost, but it also had its spotlights, like you mentioned, some of the players, and it also gave an opportunity, Dale, to young Canadian coaches, whether assistants, some got the opportunity to be head coaches. I think that's important as well if this gets going in 2018, that spots are given on that bench to Canadian coaches. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. I think that if a CSL or a version of it was ever to happen again, I think the priority has got to be on especially young Canadian players. I don't know if even a format for having young guys on the field would be worth exploring. I know an under 23 league, but has been talked about in the past. But I think a formula to make sure the young guys are getting a chance to play, I think, is important. And certainly all of the coaching positions should be about Canadian guys. I think there's been a lot that's gone on, even though it hasn't shown in national team success over the last years in terms of coach development and coaches getting opportunities in high-performance league, USL, NASL, reserve teams in MLS. And I think guys just need an opportunity somewhere to really learn their trades, just like the players do. I think the young coaches in Canada also could benefit from something like that.
And I was having dinner with a real well-known Canadian coach here Monday night, and he was going to bat for the Canadian player, as was I. And the point you just made, give them an opportunity. Let them prove that they can be a number 9, a number 10. Let them prove that they can be a top-notch goalie. Give them that opportunity to fail and give them that opportunity to run with it. And I think that's what's important, Dale.
Yeah, there's no question that once you hit a certain age, it's about playing in a first team and playing on a regular basis. I don't think there's any doubt about that. An international career in this day and age is about playing every week in a good league, and as well as that, in most countries, you've got to be playing very well in a good league to be considered for a national team. And certainly, international soccer in this day and age is extremely competitive. There's no doubt on the men's side that it's the most competitive international sport that there is. I don't think there's any sport that compares to it. Every team is looking to get to the next level. It's tough to qualify no matter where you're from. And we have fallen behind in that regard. There's no question. So anything we can do to try and get us moving in the right direction, I think we got to try.
Lastly, before we let you go, Dale, because we know you're busy on the field there, we really appreciate your time. You look down south when the World Cup was awarded to the US of A. They started up MLS specifically for the American player, the American coach, the American administrator, and they've hit a home run. They've did exceptional, and they've gone World Cup after World Cup. I've said this. People have laughed at me. I believe in the next 2 World Cups, whether Russia, Qatar, the USA will be in a Final 4, maybe a Final 8. I truly believe that. When you look down south, the way the nation, the soccer nation, rallies behind their team when they play the Mexicos, they play the Costa Ricas, when they're in the World Cup. And you look at us up here, Dale, when we get ready to play, this time around it was better against Honduras and Vancouver. I got to give them credit for that. But when you play in Jamaica, you play in Mexico, you play whoever, everyone brings the flag of that country, and the Canadians sit silently in maybe 2,000-3,000 worth. How can we change that, and how important is it to change that?
Well, it's one of those things, Anthony, that in many countries, soccer is the number 1 sport. We know that it's not here, but I think that the fans here have given the team a chance over the last number of years. They've been there in pretty good numbers and support at the beginning of the campaign, but it's like everything else at the international level. You need to get the results, and getting those results is what gives you the momentum. If you look at the women's side now, the reason that John Herdman has been able to do such an excellent job is that he's got the results, and he's gotten people to believe in his program, to believe in what he's doing. The confidence grows. It grows in your team. It grows in the fan base. It grows in the media. People get behind you. And so, it's one of those things that I think people are always willing to give us a chance here, but they want to see us get those results in those tough international qualifying games.
I couldn't agree with you more, Dale. Look, I want to thank you so much for making time out of your busy schedule. And again, what I said at the top, I meant it. You left it all out there for club and country. You did it as a true professional. You helped a lot of the young kids with the old Toronto Blizzard. I know that for a fact. And you did it with all class. So again, thank you very much. And we really appreciate you making the time. And we'll get you on down the future as maybe the next head coach of Canada is announced to get your thoughts as well.
Thanks very much for your time, Anthony, and I admire your passion on this project that you've taken on. Keep up the good work.
I appreciate it. Class act, Dale Mitchell.